Alright, so about 2 years ago I was experimenting a lot with what I would call roof bunkers, and my main goal was to build an ideal bunker base for a solo player. So I wanted to have a compact design with very low upkeep, but still offer some utility space and roof access as well to take control over an area. So today I wanted to show you what I eventually came up with, and I was building this base ever since, and it never was patched. So I usually start with placing 3 foundations, like this, and you want to make sure that the surrounding foundations are still blue and buildable, because you will need them for honeycomb later on. And the main concept of a roof bunker base is to eventually have a wall that can get lowered by placing a roof like this. So you can squeeze through that wall, and by removing the roof, the wall closes the bunker again. In order to achieve that, you have to create a small gap in the foundations. And usually you do that by building 7 square foundations out. And you top it off with a triangle foundation. And then you remove all the square foundations again and build back using triangle foundations. You can also remove this middle triangle foundation here. So these are the foundations of your bunker. And here you can see there is this little gap I was talking about. And if you place a TC over here, and if you take a look at the upkeep of your TC, it does not contain the wood from this twig foundation. So technically these are still 2 different bases, and the TC does not support this side of your base. So currently it would decay. So next, if you build it as a starter base, for example, you can of course build this all in wood at first. And in that case you would build a single door frame over here. So on a live server you would upgrade this to wood instantly and place a door. If you have access to the straightened glass window, you can also place a window over here. But you shouldn't place a frame for a garage door, and there's a reason I will come to in a bit. As the next step I would continue building a small roof, because if you build the roof first, you don't have to bother with the roof clipping to the wrong side of the walls or something like that. And now I can place down the first wall here. And as you can see, there's quite a large gap between these 2 bases. There's a smaller gap for the foundation, but a large one over here. And this is why I didn't upgrade this to metal yet, because just to showcase you what happens if you make it metal, or if you make it the same material as the other wall on this side, you create a little overlap. It only also works if it's rotated in the correct way. So if both walls are facing into the same direction, it creates the overlap. And this can seal the gap. There's still a small gap, however, so it's like a small pixel where you can shoot through. So you can completely shoot through, or you can also reach maybe some items that are in the way. So maybe don't place a box right over here, for example, because these can get destroyed. But the TC is usually not in danger because it's too far away, and especially if the door is in front of it, that shouldn't be an issue. But if you want to make sure, and if you have enough access to HQM, you can also upgrade this to armored. Because the overlap of armored walls is a lot bigger, and you can't shoot through them. And you can't shoot through the gap in the foundations because the hitboxes are a lot larger. You can also use the increased security to protect your TC. And that would be especially effective if you have a window here with an armored window. But I wouldn't usually bother upgrading it to armored, because ideally you want to place a lot of these bases, and it's just easier to just manage the metal upkeep. So the next wall would be placed on this side, and here you would see the next nasty gap. But there's also a way to seal this. First of all, the stability on this roof side is quite low. And in order to seal this gap, you need to place a roof frame over here. It doesn't work right now, but you can use a nice little trick. If you lower the wall with a roof, you can then attach the roof frame to the existing roof. But this also requires a little more stability. So in order to place this roof frame, we have to build a little support structure over here. And this support structure can already be upgraded to metal. And we additionally need a temporary frame over here as well. This one can get removed later on as again, once everything is set in place. But this also showcases one issue with the overlap we have for the bunker. You should not create or build anything. I mean, you can build something if you rotate it correctly. But building stuff on this side messes with the overlap. The only thing you can build here is a roof to use it as a ladder replacement. But for now we will have the temporary frame over here. And now we have enough stability to actually place this roof frame on this side. And this now completely seals the previous gap. You now have to do the same thing for the other side. So again, you need the support structure. But this time you don't need the temporary frame, because the frame from the other side is giving enough stability to support this side as well. It's also important to upgrade this to metal, because it's crucial for the security of your bunker. And here it's also important to keep the correct order of building the wall first, because if you reverse the order and build the frame first, you now can't place the wall anymore. And this is also the biggest weakness of this base, I would say, because if you get raided, you might have to... So let's say that this wall gets destroyed. In order to rebuild this, you don't just have to destroy this frame as well. You might as well say if, let's say this wall over here is also still there. right now you can't lower the wall anymore, right? So you also have to destroy this wall, and then you can lower it and replace the frame again. And yeah, this is quite a hassle. So usually I would recommend just rebuilding the base if it gets raided. It's quite easy to build anyway, so yeah, just build another one. Alright, then eventually you finish the last bunker wall like this. And now it's completely sealed, at least if you also destroy the temporary twig frame. So this is what you would end up with. And yeah, this side will be our main entrance for the bunker. So as I mentioned before, you open it with placing a roof. And now I wanted to show you another problem. If you remember correctly at the beginning, the TC was not supporting the other half of the base. And this is still the case, because all these twig foundations don't show up in the TC. So technically these are still two disconnected bases. And in the past people usually were building multi-TC bases for that. So they would build out a few foundations and then build another TC base over here, which then supports this side of the bunker. But I basically found out that you can skip all that and melt these bases together with the help of a roof. Because if you place a roof here, now the I mean, just to showcase, I will upgrade this to stone. Now both bases are showing up in the upkeep. So at the beginning I was building these roofs outside of the bunker, but I thought this was a weak spot because you could soft side them. Even if you upgrade this to sheet metal, you can still soft side this side of the roof. So I thought it was a weak spot to have it outside of the bunker, and that's why I was looking for a solution to place it inside of the bunker. This is also the main reason why you need to upgrade this to sheet metal as well, because a little piece of it is sticking out of the roof. And in theory, if you have this on stone, for example, someone could destroy the roof and now the bases would be disconnected again, and this part of your bunker would now decay. But having it on the same quality as your bunker, as the bunker itself, you have maximum security. Also, technically you could place the roof from this side, but I found out that it's a lot harder to squeeze through from this side if the wall is upgraded to metal. So if it's metal, somehow you it's like you have to squeeze through here with jumping pixel for pixel, and then you can go through, and the other way around as well. I mean, it still works, but it's a bit annoying. And if you build it from this side, it's just a lot easier. So you don't have to do any jumping, you can just squeeze through from this side, and from that side it's also easy peasy. So I recommended building it from this side, so the TC is on the left here. Yeah. So this would be the final state of the bunker. Right. So the next step would be taking care of the entrances and the honeycomb around it. So the entrance would be on this side, as I said. And the issue here is, due to the two bases being involved, you can't place a foundation in between these two foundations. So, like you did over here, if there's no gap, it's no problem, right? But if you have this gap over here and these two bases, it will complain that this foundation would be too close to another building. So in order to deal with that, you basically have to replicate what you have inside of the bunker. So you leave the middle foundation empty and then build these 3 foundations in a triangle. In order to do that, you have to build from the TC side. If you look at the foundation, this one is a bit more forward than the other one. So I can show you what happens if you build it from the wrong side first. So now this foundation kinda gets placed or is shifted into the existing foundation. And this is why you can't place a wall above it anymore. But if you build it from the other side, it's no problem. So now you end up with a little gap as well, but there's also a solution for that gap. So over here you can build a airlock. Alright, so usually you would want to build another single door over here. And this is also what I would build. But if you have no blueprints, it might be better to build a door frame, and I will show you why. So if you build a single door like that, there's still a quite large gap, right? And you can kind of mitigate that gap by rotating the wall, but now the soft side would show up. So this is something you can't do for a single door, and because then someone could just pick through it. So now you end up with this larger gap. You can somewhat close it. So remember, this side you want to open the bunker. So you can't place anything from the inside, but you can place from the outside 2 frames like that. But the problem is you still end up with a tiny little gap, and depending on the angle you can actually shoot through it. With explosive ammo you can damage the bunker walls and the stone foundation in front of it at the same time, which is especially a problem if you build high foundations. And in general people can just mess with you, so I really wouldn't recommend doing this. So if you don't have any blueprints, you might as well think about adding a door frame, because that one you can rotate, because it doesn't have a soft side. But if you use a double door like that, you can completely close the gap by adding another frame from the outside. Like so. And this completely closes the gap, so there's no shooting through it anymore. But this of course comes with a big disadvantage, that you really have to pay attention that this door is closed before you open the other one, because otherwise a door camper can walk right into your base, which is also not ideal. So my preferred solution is actually building a regular airlock like this, because now a door camper can't come in here. And to seal this gap, I'm using high external walls. So I would create like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bases in a circle and all link them with high external walls and have this massive compound over here. And the high external walls take care of these gaps as well. So it's a nice synergy. So when placing a high external wall here, you want to make sure that it's not pushed too far in, because it might block your entrance. So just push it in just a little bit, like so, just the tip. And make sure that the blue touches the entire side of the wall, because otherwise you will not cover the entire gap. This side doesn't have any gaps, so you can just wall it off. You can also build a roof to climb out of it. So you can basically copy the same entrance over here or mirror it, but this comes with a small disadvantage. So especially if you want to integrate this into a compound, you want to make use of the fact that you have two doors and two entries basically, because then you can use this base as a gate base and have one door facing the inside of the compound and the other door facing the outside of the compound. But if you just mirror the entrance like that, the gap will be on the right side of the door, which means that both entrances will face the same side of the compound. So what you can do instead, you kinda lose the option to open your bunker from this side, but you can build something like this. So in this case the gap is now on the left side, which means now you can use a high external wall for sealing the gap, and you now have one door facing to the inside of the compound and one door facing to the outside of the compound. Alright, so the next step would be dealing with the roof. And the cheapest way to do this would be placing roof triangles. And you want to start from this side with the low stability frames over here. And the stability is not high enough to carry an entire roof, right? So if you place a roof on this frame, it collapses. But if you place it on the wall, it's just fine. So that's where you want to do it. And also, and this is more crucial, also you want to attach the next roof to the wall and not to the frame. While this frame has enough stability to hold the roof, it would then not connect to the existing roof over here and create a gap in between. So you also need to place this on the wall. And you have to do the same for the other side. So other roofs are no problem, so here you can just place them. And then you just end up with this hole in your roof, which can be closed by just placing a frame first. And then, I mean, you could place a roof like that, but you can see there's this little gap over here. So what I would do is just placing a roof frame again, and now place some walls like this. And these walls completely close off the gap. Of course, you can use low walls as well in that case, but since they are as expensive as the regular walls, I would just build the regular walls. And this also gives you the opportunity to later, so you can either close this, but you can also have some roof access later on and build some kind of small shooting floor on top. If you want to create a shooting floor, you will need more stability up here, so one frame probably won't be enough, but you can just place more frames over here. Alright, since this video has become quite long already, I will have to make a cut here, but this pretty much wraps up the core design of the base anyway. And by the way, upkeep is usually around 1400 stone and 400 metal frags. And if there's enough interest and I find the time to edit the rest of the footage, I can show you some useful customization options for this design, and later on even show you some synergy with industrial pipes. Also, shout out to my favorite solo server from enjoyrust.com. If I'm playing Rust, you can find me on the monthly server, and this one has a great community, active admins, and you can focus on base building with some PvP sprinkled in without having to farm blueprints all the time. So have a good one, and hopefully see you in the next video.